Welcome to part 3 of our hands-on-deck duel series. I'm Brian McKay, the creator of Pocket Paragons.
Nick Rosner, lead playtester of Pocket Paragons.
So we've been playing the pirate characters, and this third and final battle is between the two giant sea monsters that are the spirit animals of these pirate crews. Nick's going to be playing Noodles, a giant octopus. Mm-hmm. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Noodles?
All right, I'm very excited to, because Noodles is a very unique character to Pocket Paragons and really, really fun, even though fairly complicated. So Noodles, giant, sort of like Kraken looking thing, and really the first thing to show is Noodles' ultimate power. Now it's passive that can't really be activated, and what it does is it says you begin the game with 8 tentacles. It's not energy, it's sort of like its own thing. 8 tentacles. You can't never have more than 8 tentacles. Whenever you ready abilities, recover a tentacle for each ability ready. So, and it says, for example, if you have 2 exhausted abilities in play, rest, you recover 3 tentacles.
Yeah, so the rest readying itself counts as one of the abilities towards the tentacles.
So essentially for the number of cards that come back. Rest kind of is technically included in that. So you basically, as you can guess, you will be recovering them as you rest. It's pretty similar to actually doing the energy, but slightly different to keep track of. It's a little complicated. Now, what do you do with these tentacles? So what you do with the tentacles is you use them in your abilities. And so let's just go over our abilities here. So for intelligence, standard 1 damage, which is swift. That means if it counters an enemy ability, then it gets ready. Mm-hmm. Always good to have. And then you may spend any number of tentacles to block that much damage. So this is how these work. You're going to be spending tentacles or looking at them to use these abilities. This guy, a standard move, it can ready itself and it can block. It could potentially block up to 8 damage theoretically on its own.
Yeah, not that anybody deals 8 damage, but you know.
Next up, we have Squeeze, as one might expect from a Kraken. 1 damage, and on a hit, you may spend 1 tentacle. If you do, your enemy must exhaust an ability, which is great, does cost something, however. Then, you can exhaust 2 more tentacles to force your enemy to ready that ability and exhaust a different ability instead. I'm talking about things that like have choice in there, so you can dump an ability out of their hand. If you don't like it, make them do something else. It has to be something else.
That's right. It has to be a different ability. And usually with these cards that force your enemy to exhaust an ability, you're usually getting the weakest ability out of their hand. Mm-hmm. But with this one, you're getting the second weakest ability out of their hand.
It's true, unless they play you, which you might do.
That's true.
However, all that being said, it's still excellent, and it can cost up to 3 tentacles, but hey, I got 8. Next up, we have Rip the Ship. I like it. 2 damage only. However, on a hit, you may spend 4 tentacles to gain 2 attack. So, yes, you're dumping about half your tentacles, however. 4 damage on any standard move is great, especially when there's actually no disadvantage to this 4 damage move, except pain for the tentacles.
That's right. I mean, this is probably the best way to spend your tentacles, even though it takes a lot of them. I mean, just having a 4 damage move with no other drawbacks is very powerful.
Potentially just casting it twice. I mean, that's 8 damage and might as well beat the game.
Yep.
That is not all, though. Tentacles can be used also in some of the other things. So for the weapon, Pulverize, standard 1 damage. If you have 5 or more tentacles, it gains 1 attack. We already talked about in the previous game how just having 2 attack on a weapon is already great. Mm-hmm. It's now an actual offensive ability. And this one doesn't even require you to spend tentacles. You have to have 5. Which is obviously more than half, but it can just be there. And if your opponent is savvy to it, they're thinking, hey, what if they weapon me? Right now they have 5, they could do it.
Yeah. I wanted to create some tension with the weapon. Usually weapons get played later into the rounds as players start to run out of cards. This one incentivizes you to play it a little earlier while you still have a bunch of tentacles before you spend them on, say, dealing 4 damage. These 2 cards don't play very well together, so you need to be careful about the order in which you use them.
Yeah. But you can still fool them into thinking you're going to do one or the other.
Yeah.
Technically. And then Ink Blast, of course, is defense. If you block damage, you may spend 1 tentacle. If you do, heal 1 or deal 1 unblockable damage. If this ability doesn't block damage, recover 1 tentacle. So again, I love this card because of its utility and the choices in there. Getting to choose between damage or heal is great. On a weapon, you never get that opportunity. Yes, it costs a tentacle, but it's only 1. And then lastly, if it doesn't block, you get a tentacle back, so it's like value. I think it's great.
Yeah, the defends that give you some kind of bonus when they don't block damage are very rare, few and far between. I mean, recovering 1 tentacle isn't a huge benefit, but it's something.
Well, it could definitely go from the 4 to the 5.
That's right.
And the rest is standard, although again, when playing the rest, you have to be careful to, jump up a number of cards, not just your energy up by 1.
Yeah.
That is Noodles.
That is Noodles. He will rip your ship in half with his mighty tentacles.
As foretold.
I will be playing Obninsk, the Deep Sea Lure. Obninsk, his cards are fairly simple, but the way you use them is very complicated. So he is very rewarded for countering his opponent's abilities. His abilities have twists on the standard keywords that are very common throughout other characters. We saw a lot of Pierce in our previous match with the first mates. This is Super Pierce. If this ability is countered or blocked, you deal 2 unblockable damage instead of 1. Swallow Whole is Super Vicious. If it counters an enemy ability, normally Vicious would double it, but for Super Vicious, this is tripled. So if Swallow Whole counters your ability, you'll take 6, please and thank you.
Hey, maybe I will actually spend those 6 to 8 tentacles of block.
And then Super Stun. Normally stun when you counter their card, they exhaust it. For this one, if I counter your card, you exhaust it and another ability. And it also has a small hit to heal 1. So these cards are very powerful when they are in the appropriate circumstances, but how do you get into those situations? The answer is with his ultimate, which is very, very powerful. It's an ultimate 2. It does no damage. When you play it, next round, your opponent plays and reveals their ability before you choose and reveal yours.
Oh.
So if they've played their intelligence, well, hey, take 6. If they played their strength, well, get super stunned.
It's like unprecedented move.
Yeah. If they defend, well, you can still pierce them for 2. So this represents, this guy's a big anglerfish, and the Eska is the little glowy bit on top of their, when you think of an anglerfish, it's that little glow that they leave out to lure their prey in. So that's what he's doing. He's luring you in and then biting you in very dangerous ways.
His lure is just the, it's like glowing purple.
Yeah. With a little swirly on it. So that's his ultimate. His weapon is a 1 damage weapon. When it hits, if your opponent plays rest on the next round, they take 2 unblockable damage. So a very common play pattern in this game is, I play my weapon on you, I missed, and then you have a free rest on the next turn. This puts your opponent into a bind with that. If they do that, then they've taken 2 extra damage, which makes this essentially a 3 damage weapon, which is very, very powerful.
Right.
If they don't do that, then you have a chance to play rest during that next turn and get your weapon back and continue to put the pressure on them.
That's great.
Impenetrable Scales is a twist on the usual defend. It blocks all damage, and next round you block 1 damage. So instead of healing 1, you're extending this blocking to the next round. This is very useful against... There's a lot of cards that deal 1 damage and have very useful hit effects on them. This shuts them down both this turn and next turn. And then he has a standard rest to round out his kit. But he's very about, trying to get those punishes naturally. Just
not guaranteed.
Not guaranteed, but reading your opponent, you can still do these the old-fashioned way without having to use your ultimate to force their power. So he's very reliant on reading the opponent. I mean, looking at his kit, if you don't get the counters, then this is a 2 damage ability with no effect, a 2 damage ability with no effect, and a 1 damage heal 1. His abilities are very weak if you're not getting those specific situations. But luckily, he can kind of force them when he wants to.
It's good.
That's Obninsk.
He would seem too powerful for me, except for my tentacles.
As we get into our final match here, I realized that it might have been a mistake. I feel like the Blue Pirates are more your playstyle. You're not a very aggressive player.
No, that's true. But
you're more about the combos and whatnot, and that's more about the tricksy blue team.
I think the problem is you're very good at this game, and you definitely can read me hard. No, I actually really like Noodles because even though that is true, kind of managing the tentacles and kind of like there is some mind games with them too, a little bit. Just even having a lot of tentacles on the board can kind of like make people nervous, and it's like, oh well, maybe you weren't thinking about me resting over here.
Having a resource management character other than managing the number of cards in your hand, it's a different axis to play on, and it's a different play style that some people will really like.
Yeah.
The downside is that you will need something to keep track of your 8 tentacles. I mean, the standard dials only go up to 5.
Right.
I kind of did that because, it's an octopus. You need to have 8 tentacles,
of course.
Right? And these characters were also designed for a digital game where this would be able to integrate in without, any extra components needed. But we have a limited number of these available, and
8's not too hard of a number to keep track of.
No, you can get 8 pennies for a very cheap price.
How much?
For you, Nick, $2.
Hey, what a deal! I'll take 10. Okay.
All right.
So let's play. Okay.
Oh.
No, this is bad for me.
We had mentioned this on a previous video, but defends that lean themselves towards being able to be played on the first turn well, like mine, for example, having the one block next turn can be better than having the immediate heal one when you're at full health.
Oh yeah.
You get to recover a tentacle, which is great, except you're still at
I'm at max.
8 tentacles.
It's unfortunate. However, just because it isn't the optimal move doesn't mean
That's true. That's true. I mean, playing anything damaging into this would have been better for me. So yeah. So I am blocking 1 damage dealt to me next round.
Got it. Okay. Okay. I'm curious if you thought I would do this, or if it was simply a move that would be.
I did think you were going to play intelligence here. And so that's why I am going to hit you for 6 damage, thanks to the tripling power of Super Vicious.
Okay, well, luckily, I can spend tentacles to block that damage.
Actually, since your ability was countered, it goes back to your hand.
No.
It's very sad for you.
Excellent. For you.
For me, not only do I hit you for 6 damage, I also get 1 energy.
Excellent. What made you think I would play the intelligence?
Because it's a defensive option.
Right.
Because I have the impenetrable scales here, that I could go on the offense more easily, and so you would probably want to play something defensive.
Okay.
It's not a hit effect, unlike your grapple, your exhausting ability, which you wouldn't play into this.
Right.
So that narrowed down the choices.
Okay.
I actually thought you were going to... I had considered playing rest here, but I thought you were going to play weapon as a side possibility, so I was hedging my bets with a medium option here that turned out to be extra medium for 6 damage.
It was a good read. My thought process was, well, you might think, why am I going to play this? I'm not even going to deal the damage. And then I could also defend against part of it. So the counter was basically the perfect and only move. That
it does go back to your hand.
Oh, that's
though.
right.
Small upsides at being under half health.
That's fine. No problem.
No sweat.
No sweat.
Easy peasy.
Can an octopus sweat?
Can an octopus sweat?
We're finding out right now, folks.
I've countered you again.
All right. Well, what I was thinking was you had this the intelligence available.
Mm-hmm.
There's a chance you'll play it.
Yeah.
And then second, it would be a great counter to you to then get rid of a card, like pull you down to low card territory right away. Kind of unexpectedly was my thought process.
That's a good process. I actually thought you were going to play your intelligence again, like you did last turn, because this one is particularly good against your intelligence because it has super pierce. That if you spend those tentacles to block damage, then you take 2 unblockable damage. But instead, I will deal 2 damage to you and get another energy to put my ultimate into my hand.
Basically, game. Let's see.
Now you are down to 2, but the other 2 abilities that deal damage are only 1, so I can't kill you unless I execute you.
Unless I am executed. All right. So, 1 damage to you.
1 damage.
And then I will spend a tentacle
Mm-hmm.
to have you exhaust a card.
All right, I will exhaust my intelligence ability.
Okay. I'll spend 2 more.
All right, so I will not exhaust my intelligence ability. I will instead exhaust my weapon.
Okay. Which is... my thought process in this was like, that's what's going to happen. I want to get that weapon out of your hand.
Yeah, that's good.
Because you are definitely going to get me with that.
Yeah, so this gets stored.
Okay.
I could do this to you more than once per game because I'm very, very mean.
It's easy to come out and it lets you do it. You're going to get another point potentially off of the counter.
Well, luring Eska is better when you have a full hand of all the different ways to punish anything you could play.
Right.
But here I'm kind of just using it to try to get myself a safe rest.
Right.
Because you're already at 2, I just need to get my damage back into my hand.
Right.
So you are lured here, so you have to play your card before I play mine.
Right. So in this case, I play it face up.
Yeah, so you must reveal your ability before I choose and reveal mine. All right, so you're playing rest, so I will choose to play rest.
Right. Really, even though I have the ability to get to my weapon to hit you, there's no way you're gonna like.
Right, I still think your weapon might have been a decent play because it has the next round punish. You know, if you play your weapon here, clearly I don't play my rest, I play my other card.
Yeah,
but then I have to play rest next turn and take the extra 2 damage.
That's true.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of my weapon. I'm getting twisted around here.
But more importantly, I would at least get 1 damage off on you. However, I'm way too low on HP to not get back into this and get my defend in my hand.
That makes sense. So we rest. You pulled back your rest plus 2 cards, so you're back up to your full 8 tentacles.
See, tentacles recover.
And I get 1 energy and take all of these back.
All right. So we're in again. One thing I love about this game. Look, we're back to just like almost exactly starting maneuver, but everything is all changed just based on these things.
You're under a tremendous amount of pressure being at 2. But, you know, just as I got you into this position by countering a bunch of your cards, you can turn it around on me by countering a bunch of my cards.
100%.
Although, now that I think about it, I don't know how true that is.
I have to play my card face up, so... Is it the Piercer?
It is the Piercer.
Okay.
And that's why I'm like, oh.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
However, you're not dead.
Right. So you're going to deal 2 damage based off the effect, even though I blocked. My block damage, I'm going to spend 1 tentacle to a heal. 1, if I so choose, which
That seems like a wise choice.
Pretty good. So I'll go up to 3, and then I'll receive 2 damage here.
Yeah.
Because the way Pocket Paragons resolves things, it's the end result. So even if you had brought me to 2, or to 0 rather,
and then you heal back 1, yeah.
It doesn't really matter.
Players don't die until the end of the round.
Yes.
The round being both of us playing 1 card, not until we play rest, because then our rounds would be disjointed. It's a common confusion with some players.
Let's see what happens here. Oh, you did the rest.
I did the rest. So the Super Pierce is just very good at squeezing in unblockable damage. I have a lot of cards that could deal that last 1 point of damage, but I wanted to get this one back.
You have a lot of...
I have some space to work with health-wise.
That's true. I didn't really consider you do that. I figured you just try and peck a shot at me, so I didn't even consider the rest on that Super Pierce. But the Super Pierce is like an almost guaranteed kill, so...
It's pretty good.
So I
am getting ripped.
I am spending the 4 tentacles for sure. Going down to 3.
So I go down to 5 health. That is my second energy from the rest, so I do get my ultimate back. Just to, if I really want to ruin your day. Depends on how much I want to play with my food before I eat it.
It's true. Okay. The only possible way to stop your thing was to do an actual straight-up counter.
Well, not necessarily, because Super Pierce still triggers if the ability is countered.
Oh my god.
And it deals unblockable damage, which unfortunately you can't use your block for tentacles thing.
I was truly doomed.
You were truly doomed.
Alright. So
but you did get me down to 4.
That's true. You know what? It was a last-ditch attempt. I think if I thought about it more... that you were going to favor... If I knew you were going to favor that I would have gone for the kill. Might as well.
Yeah, I was sweating it a lot with the aggressive rest play, because I'm like, this is the only way I can lose this game at this point, and if he sees through that, then... Yeah, Super Pierce is very, very strong. I think that game was a testament to showing how powerful these counter punishes are, because I had gotten 2 counters very early in that game, and it put you on the back tentacle quite quickly.
It's true. That being said, definitely, I feel like you had a lot of really good reads. Any of those reads and moves that you had messed up, like a lot of those hits were big. Like I did the one hit and I knocked you down to nearly killing territory.
Yeah.
and I was at pretty high tentacles for a lot of that.
It's true.
The piercing definitely was strong because I think his defense that lets you spend tentacles is actually really super strong.
It is very strong. It reminds me a lot of the weapon from Ellis Terra, where it blocks damage. Having a second card in your kit that can block damage is very good, and yours is a very powerful card, especially against weaker hits where you only need to spend one tentacle to get a lot of value out of blocking a hit effect.
Oh yeah. But even spending a lot to make it into a standard defend, even though you dump your tentacles, like getting a second full defend and dealing damage.
Yeah.
It's great. These characters are definitely built in a way where they counter each other quite well. Like if I get a hit in, I can get you, but if you keep countering me, which you did, and you got me on the ropes.
Yeah, they were definitely designed to be played against each other, and I haven't really played them too much against just other characters in the roster, and I'd be interested to see how that plays out. And if you'd like to try that out for yourself, pick up some of these characters on the Solus Game Studio web store. I think we have a limited number of them available, very small quantity, but grab them while you can. And,
Definitely.
And thanks for playing, and thanks for watching, everybody. And
thank you for. I will let you know, however, that I did keep the sticker.
You did earn that sticker from the previous match.
That's right. But yeah, thanks everyone.